Welcome back, Braille class, for our art lesson today. So for this lesson, you're going to need a piece of paper. I've made mine A5 size to fill it all. You're going to need a pencil and some colours if you have them, some crayons, or even better, if you have some watercolours, you're going to need those because we use watercolours at school normally. If we're normally at school, we would be using those. So watercolours, paints, crayons, pencil if you have one, and yes, some paper. Oh, and you're also going to need some fruit, and you're going to need to cut it in half. So I've got my lime here ready. Okay, so hopefully, so you can choose which one you have at home. So you might have to be a bit creative, whether it's crayons or watercolors or paints. Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen with you. Okay, so over the next few weeks, we are going to be learning all about an artist called Georgia O'Keeffe. Georgia O'Keeffe. Now, she specializes in painting beautiful flowers. Can you see some of the beautiful flowers? She does flowers, plants mainly. So, can you see these beautiful ones here? Has she used a lot of colours? What colours has she used? Can you tell me? Good. She's used green and white here, a lighter green in the middle, and a little tiny bit of yellow and a little bit of blue. Only about 4 or 5 colours, so she's not used a lot of colours, has she? But what has she done to make it really stand out? What's she done to the flower? That's right, she's added lots of detail and she's also added shading. And I know we spoke about that when we were observing our leaves. Can you see? She's got this bright green in the middle and then it fades out into a lighter green and then slowly fades out into a creamy colour, creamy white colour. Can you see that? Now that is to make it look a little bit 3D, so it doesn't just look flat. It really comes to life and looks like more of a real flower, doesn't it? Comes more realistic. Then here for the leaf, she's really added lots of dark greens and light greens. It's almost a dark greeny black, isn't it? And that's to make the leaves look really realistic. Then over here we can see what colours has she used over here. She's used blue, white, yellow, and a little bit of orange to show the pollen in the middle. So you can see she's used not a lot of colours, but lots of shading to make them come to life. Georgia O'Keeffe. Good. And we are going to be doing a little bit of work like Georgia O'Keeffe because our learning objective is to use one colour today. And we are going to do something called shading. Shading. Now you can see this photo, can't you, of the orange, and they've used lots of shading. And if we go back, we can see she's used lots of shading. So I want you to have a think. If I was using a green colour today, I'm just going to get my paintbrush. If I was using a green colour, how would I make it lighter? How could I make my green colour lighter? Good, I could add some white. So I'm going to mix them in the lid because I've got my watercolours here. So I'm going to put a little bit of green. You have to mix the watercolours with quite a bit of water. Do you know what I just did, year one? You're going to laugh. I just dipped my paintbrush into my coffee. How silly. Oh dear. It's not going to taste very nice, is it? So I'm going to get a little bit of white. I'm going to add them together and that makes a little bit, you can't really see it, but it's a lighter green. How do you think I would make a dark green? So if I'm adding white to make it look lighter, how would I make my colour a little bit darker, do you think? Can you tell me? Good, that's right. I could add a little bit of black and that will make my colour a little bit darker. I'm going to choose a bit of a bigger paintbrush, I think, for doing these parts. I've got lots of different sized paintbrushes here to help me with my painting. So I recommend when you're doing your painting, using different sized paintbrushes to help you. Okay, so what I'd like you to do in a little while is I would like you to paint, painting, and we're going to be adding detail, okay? So let me just share my screen with you. So yeah, so we're going to be using one colour and we are going to be using shading. Good. So can you see here this segment, these segments of the orange? So what they've done is I want you to get a fruit that you could find or a vegetable around the house and cut it into half. So I've chosen a lime here that I'm going to paint, okay? Then what you need to do is you will need to draw your picture. So can you see I've got my lime here and I've started to have a go at drawing and I've put all the different segments. I don't know how clear that is, but you can see I've drawn the little segments and I've drawn around the outside as well. Then what you're going to do is I want you to paint using shading. So thinking about mixing those colours up in your palette. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see my picture. Can you see that? Good. So I'm going to mix my green. Now, I don't know if you can see, but around the outside of my lime, I've got a really dark green and then I've got a really light green. So I'm going to use my colours of greens today and mix them using the white. So I've got my green. I'm going to make this a really bright green. I'm going to mix it with a lot of water. Now, I'd recommend getting a tissue because sometimes if you're using watercolours, they can get a bit watery otherwise. I'm going to go round the outside with this really bright, vibrant green colour. So remember to just using one colour today. Keep mixing it in. Now watercolours, they go a long way, so you don't need to keep dabbing them. They go a long, long way. Especially if you're running out of colour, just dab it a tiny bit in the water. So I've got my water here and I've just dabbed it a tiny bit in the water. Squeeze it on the side and then that will give you a little bit more. Look, can you still see it's still going? You can spread it around a bit more. You shouldn't be scribbling when you're using watercolours. You should be using the water to spread the paint around the page. Okay, so if we can see in the middle of these segments, that's what we call segments, and they are a really yellowy green. So to make my green a yellowy green, I'm going to get the green colour, put it on here. I'm also going to get a little tiny bit of yellow. So I need to clean my paintbrush, get a lot of green, and dry my paintbrush. And I'm going to get a bit of yellow. I'm going to mix it together. A bit more green. Maybe a little bit more yellow. You might want to test the colour out on another spare piece of paper that you have. So I'm doing the corner. A bit more yellow. Yeah. Maybe green. Let's see. Excellent. Can you see that's a different coloured green to the one that I've got around the outside? It's like a yellowy green. I'm going to keep looking at my keep looking at my lime and observing it because parts of these segments, I don't know if you can see, but they're lighter. Can you see the light shining off those? They're almost white, aren't they? See the light bits. So I've tried to draw in a few light bits that I'm going to keep really, really light green. I'm going to mix that. And then I'm going to get a little bit of white for those lighter greens. Once I've coloured it in, painted it in, sorry. And then if I get a bit of white as well. My white here. Ooh, the white's going a bit green. I'll hopefully create a bit of lighter green. I'm going to put the lighter green parts on my segment. I can also see some yellowier parts. I'm going to get some yellow, little bits of yellow to make it more 3D, giving it lots of colours, making those greens, different shades of green, whether it's got a tint of yellow or a tint of white. And don't worry about getting your colours a little bit dirty, because what you can do, it's really easy to clean them. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see that. It's got lots of different, I've got yellows and greens in there to make it look a bit more 3D. Okay, if you want to clean your watercolours, if you have watercolours like me, you just mix water with them and then you get a tissue with your watercolours on and you just smudge it like that, it'll come off and it'll clean them out. It's nice to keep your colours clean. Okay, so I'm not going to carry on because I'm going to let you have a go at doing it. I'm getting a bit carried away. So you have a go at painting and thinking about all of those different colours that you can see within your segment, okay, within your vegetable or your fruits. Do you think you can do that? Don't forget to take a picture and post it to Tapestry so I can see your beautiful work. I'm really looking forward to it. Bye, you all.